Vinland Saga is simultaneously the greatest and the worst manga I have ever read. Thorfinn's evolution from a callous, uncaring and vengeful man to a gentle yet stern soul who wouldn't harm a fly remains and always will remain as one of the finest character progressions I witnessed within manga's countless catalog. Which is even more surprising that this author, who lit a fire in my soul to be better and gave us an unforgettable tale, also sparked my greatest grievances with Vinland Saga. Spoilers for the Vinland Saga manga, but it's not too bad, please give me watch time. I suffer through videos and you watch them, that's the deal. The manga's all-time high for me is the war in the Baltic arc, but little did I knew this same milestone would conceive the roots of my disappointment. The Baltic arc is absolutely brilliant, a arc filled with showers of blood and injustice fueled by Jorm's Vikings, a fighting force comparable to a walking calamity. With its all-encompassing grasp, it pulls Thorfinn in and makes him confront the truth of his father's killer. It tests his resolve for pacifism in the face of possible vengeance. It starts to pull him back down to Helheim, to that animalistic state he now dreads. Okay, to stop being all Shakespearean with the poets and the rhymes, Thorfinn has to pick one of three options. Ascend the throne of Jormsburg, causing him to abandon Vinland, kill Floki, and by extension, forsaking pacifism, or die.
Wait, there is no way.
Him being a main character of a seinen manga allows him to find a different path, obviously. He does the unthinkable. He does something not even King Canute thought possible. But we aren't here to talk about the arc, or the characters, or the author's philosophies of anti-war, but rather this seemingly small and inconsequential scene. Vikings love the Norse gods. As absurd it might seem to us now, Norse people actually believe the earth was formed from a corpse of a large titan from which gods like Thor popped out and game over the whole race of giants, along with a whole other buttload of things. But one rule the Vikings lived by, or died by I suppose, was to fall on the battlefield. They believed that if a man fell by a blade, they will be escorted to Valhalla by Valkyries, so that they may dine with the gods for all eternity. These were the same dreams a lone Viking had. Laying on grass, wet from his bleeding heart, is a poor soul under a crying sky. He thinks and contemplates his life choices. He thinks about the farm life, where he'd till the soil and tend to his kin. Despite war robbing him of everything, he lays there with some relief. He is dying from war, not from an illness nor old age. He is relieved to know that any minute now, majestic, winged women will comfort him and take him to a warmer place. He deserves it. After all, he had suffered enough, even till his last breath. But the only thing that meets him is a looming, ever-expanding abyss of nothing. He starts to feel numb, his vision blurring, his mind in a frenzy and hope extinguished at the thought of no one coming to save him. As that realization dawns on him, he desperately tries to call out how everything, gods, war, glory, was a lie. This scene was dark. Very dark in fact. So dark that I needed to come up with a comedic relief joke just to set the mood straight. But since I'm talentless, I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me this.
Fuck you.
Why did the Scarecrow become a stand-up comedian? Because he was outstanding in his field of corny jokes. Sit and take in this moment, and let the laughter carry you through. Whoever gave ChatGPT a sense of humor needs to be shot. In Minecraft. Sit and take in this moment. What does it convey to you? How does it make you feel? Aside from him sounding like the Reddit's nicest atheist, this scene is horrifying. To have your whole world crash down on you in your last moments, to have nothing waiting for you after death, and for your life to amount to nothing in the end, is horrifying. This scene sets up boundaries that can be interpreted in different ways. I perceive it in two alternatives. Vinland Saga doesn't have a true religion, it neglects all of them and only sets out to explore the topics of our corporeal world. Or secondly, it tells you how salvation can't be found through killing. In both of these aspects, it establishes that religion, supernatural and spiritual elements wouldn't be a large part of the story going forward. Sadly, however, this very same scene I admire so much will become the reason why I hate the ongoing final arc of Vinland Saga. After being clickbaited for 30 years, the title is finally relevant. The Vinland Saga is upon us. The start of the Vinland final arc. Everything was leading up to this point. The name, the characters, the whole 2 arcs we spent exploring their motivations. All that time was spent building up this climax, only for it to crumble as a fucking nuke went off.
Tactical nuke incoming!
I will try to say as few spoilers as possible, to avoid unnecessary story beats. We are about to reach the main point of the video, but feel free to leave. I have numerous problems with this arc, and all of them stem back to its foundations. Thorfinn, after returning with the funds needed for the Vinland expedition, starts to gather people up who would be interested in forming a new settlement. They will start a new life from the ground up without bloodshed, war, and steel. The steel part of this was particularly hard for the Vikings to deal with because, without it, how else could they possibly have war and bloodshed? Bruh. Thorfinn made it clear that weapons would not be allowed on board. He is going there to build a home for those who don't have one, for the persecuted and the unwelcomed. He does not set out to become the unwelcomed, to become the persecutor, or to take homes. So what better way to start a civilization than to instantaneously put mercury on aluminium? He takes with him these thugs who have a sweet tooth for steel. They bicker back and forth about the importance of swords, how it is necessary for self-defense, but Thorfinn doesn't budge on his one and only rule. So the next day, they come back, tell Thorfinn to then change their minds, and despite almost killing each other, they now agree. Seems not sus at all. Well, it fucking was. This was one of the ways where the author wanted to sow the seeds of conflict for this arc. After all, we can't have Thorfinn the rest farming for another 50 chapters. This could have been done a lot better if we just saw the characters inside the colony who once agreed with Thorfinn's pacifism turn to the sword out of necessity, out of desperation, potentially forging them out of farm equipment. Instead, Thorfinn turns brain dead and allows these guys to hop on board, despite countless red flags. Not only do they obviously go on to cause trouble, but also, this is fucking nothing compared to the shit is about to come next. Whilst the previous point is certainly one to thoroughly consider as a rough patch, especially for the foundation of the final Vinland Saga arc, the next instance is just, man, is the only reason why the manga went from my top 3 to my number 5. After countless years of battle, slavery and travels, Thorfinn finally reaches Vinland, a dreamland he heard all those years ago from a traveling charismatic merchant. Vinland is no longer just a dream. As you would expect, the encounter with the natives was an awkward one, but they slowly started to warm up with each other. They started trading, sharing, and even learning each other's languages. But this bliss didn't last for long. Although most natives took kindly to these pale men, there was one who disliked them, an elder shaman. He tried to warn the others about how the foreigners are dangerous, how they should distance themselves or kick them out. Judging the way our history went, he was right. In the tribe no one listened, so they continued to live peacefully. But the shaman grew more and more weary, so he turned to the guidance of the Great Spirit. He isolated himself and took part in a ritual that might kill him. Despite the objections of his fellow tribesmen, he took part in this extreme ritual, but after countless hours of trying, nothing happened. The shaman lay there, with his dick in his hand, and huffed copium. Psych! The Great Spirit showed him the future! The colonial age, the destruction of the land and the natives, slavery, the civil war, and the invention of the fucking nuclear bombs. What the actual fuck? I knew the author had to make something work for an interesting conflict to emerge, but what the fuck is this? The mangaka abolishes the rules he set for the world so many chapters ago. We already established that the Norse gods are nothing but a myth.
Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
So why does the mangaka use religious elements, which was never present in the manga, to push forward the entire conflict? Think about this. The whole arc is centered around how the author decided to deny the existence of one religion whilst approving the other one, all for a shaman to see nukes. Do you see the issues here? When I first saw this, it was mind-blowing. And not in a good way. To make supernatural elements the centerpiece, despite it never being established as real, quite the contrary in fact, is a slap in the face for everyone. A story centered around the human mind and the actions it is capable of, turned into some wacko being xenophobic, seeing nukes and huffing weed. We went from giving characters dozens of chapters to develop and justify the reasonings and actions, to this. If it was built up from the very beginning that the world had supernatural elements, and no, Thorfinn in Helheim was a dream and a hallucination, or if it was just a slight, inconsequential segment of the manga, it would have been fine. Instead, it is the very foundation of everything that is to come, in the final arc no less. The whole story, from his very first page, was leading up to a young boy finding his path, for him to experience every pain, every torment this world is capable of, but in the end, still following his seemingly unattainable dream. It wasn't leading up to a random shaman to huff weed and see nukes. He doesn't and will never compare to the other antagonists. The final arc deserved better, and not for the author to pick and choose the existence of religions whenever he felt like it. Despite my own feelings towards this arc, the main cast of characters undergo crucial and stunning development, which is the highlight of the whole series. There is a reason why Thorfinn is still edited alongside these two Chads. I, along with other people, still love Vinland Saga. It is my top 5 manga of all time. It taught me, showed me, and made me feel very important things. And no matter how bad it gets, it can never take that away from me or from anyone else. I may have a lot of issues with it, but no matter how bad it gets, I will never stop loving Vinland Saga. See ya.